This is the summertime killer that no one's talking about. With shaking a minnow these days is so popular, I feel like everyone's forgotten about the good old spy bait. And if you don't know, a spy bait is a sinking bait that pretty much is just fished on a straight retrieve. The main action that you get out of a good spy bait is you have these propellers in the front and the back that push a little bit of water, make a little flash, but also a good spy bait will get a light little rolling action, actually very similar to shaking a minnow or a minstrel action. Now, why is the spy bait so deadly in the summer? It's also super deadly in the colder months. The reason for that being is that when bass are not super active, so when it's like super cold or also super hot, the spy bait, this light, very subtle action that you get from the spy bait, just cruising by a bass will get them to eat. And what's great about the spy bait is that they're generally pretty heavy, but also because of the way they're shaped, they're pretty streamlined. So when you cast these, especially on light spinning gear, you can cast them a mile. And when we're talking about spinning gear, I'm talking about like 8-pound test, 10-pound test line to really get that kind of finessey action out of it. You can fish them on a bait caster if you'd like, but for me, the biggest strength is just being able to make a super long cast on a spinning rod and just bringing this in slowly for as long as possible. And when it comes to getting the most out of the spy bait, you have to practice a skill that's super important from fishing from the bank, and that's counting your bait down. So if you're in a pond or a lake where you're by the bank and you can put your rod in and kind of see what a foot is, if you drop this bait in on slack line, just count it down. See how long that takes. If that's a second, perfect. If not, this changes things a little bit. But when you cast this out, you want to cast it out and start counting something that you can count pretty consistently. 1 1,000, 2 1,000, 3 1,000. And then once your line goes slack and it hit the bottom, then you know, all right, this area is about 3 1,000s deep. Not necessarily 3 feet unless you know that measurement is exactly a foot for each second. The reason to know the depth that you're fishing a spy bait at is super important because the spy bait is really good at keeping one straight depth the whole way that you're fishing it. On a slow retrieve, this thing will come straight through the water, or it won't really want to rise or sink. So when you cast this out, once it hits the bottom, kind of pop it off the bottom and then start reeling it. And if you get a bite in that 3 1,000 zone, then you know, all right, cool. All day, I just need to look for 3 1,000 in depth and the bass are there. Pretty much fishing it, it's super simple. You don't need to give any rod work, just a slow retrieve, and especially when the bass are not in a hungry mood, they will just pick this up and then you'll feel your line get heavy and then you just take that bass in. So is that hopefully you add a spy bait to your bag to catch bass in that super hot summer heat, but also in the winter when it gets cold. So what are you waiting for? Get out there.